Here in the city of Springfield, we've been incredibly fortunate to have some of the best sports broadcasters in the state. Many of them we've watched for decades, including our next honoree, who came to Springfield in television, but ended up doing so much more. Enjoy hearing more about Tom Mast.
A basketball name familiar to many in this area.
And I thought he really had all the attributes of really just a great sportscaster.
It was back in 1976 when he came to Springfield to cover sports. 45 years later, Tom Mast is still here and still covering.
More than once, I told him he should be a news anchor. But we are the better off because he came here and stayed here and focused his endeavors in the sports arena because he was awfully good at it.
I mean, he could get a lot of material in the limited amount of time that he had. Good with his delivery, good with his judgment as to what to use, what was important to the sports viewer, and how to maximize his time.
He was a sports director for 16 years at 2 different television stations, covering the biggest stories and personalities from across the state.
And good evening once again, and welcome to the Charlie Spoonhour Show for another week. A busy week for the Bears this week, Coach.
When not on television, he was in print. For 17 years, he produced the ultra-popular Big Sports magazine.
It was a big affair that went on with getting this magazine out, and people really look forward to getting to see it because the quality it had. But for the whole area, high schools, colleges, whatever it took, they were going to be included in that.
But he's done it on so many levels, at Color 10 and then at KSPR, then moving on to Big Sports and the publication of the writing of local sports and covering everything there was in the magazine. So he's just been so versatile that he's done a little bit of everything.
He worked as a sports producer for Mediacom. He served as a television play-by-play for Missouri State Athletics and Drury basketball, and for Springfield Cardinals baseball.
Every time I talked to Tom, and every time Tom talked to our athletes, not just at Drury, but across the entire area, he made you feel special. He made you feel so totally special. And so, you know, he's right there amongst the all-time greats.
So whether it was Evangel football on the radio or on site at the World Series, over a span of 45 years, Tom Mast has covered it all.
Tom, I know you don't think you deserve this for yourself, but you absolutely do, and it's an honor to welcome you to the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Tom, congratulations. You have done so much for so many people in sports in Southwest Missouri for so long. Very sincere congratulations and welcome to the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
A native of Kansas, he attended Wichita State University and then worked in Kansas for 5 years before coming to Springfield in the 70s. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Tom Mast.
Said it before, hair conditioner is a must. Don't let that get away from you. I'd be much more comfortable if I was emceeing this event. Most people would tell you that, but I'm very honored to be here. I want to first of all thank the Hall of Fame Selection Committee and offer my congratulations to the fellow inductees tonight. It's safe to say that I have interviewed at least half of the people up here, so it's very special tonight to share the stage with the people who have become really good friends over the past few years. Tonight, I am joining the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame as its first ever fluke inductee, and I'm serious. Fluke is the word, because you see, it's a series of flukes. It was a fluke that I paid attention when a high school teacher, after hearing me speak at a school assembly, said, hey, you ought to think about going on the radio and being an announcer. And then it was a fluke when a college journalism teacher asked if anybody in the class was interested in dropping by a local radio station to provide a weekly college news report for the school. Stuck up my hand and said, I'll do it. Another fluke followed when a college roommate of mine, he came home one day and he said, hey, you really like sports, don't you? And I said, well, sure. He said, well, KTVH-TV here in Wichita is looking for a weekend sports anchor. You ought to go apply. Well, I did. I didn't get the job, but I did get a job as an announcer, and I got started at the station. And then 1 year later, that same weekend job opened up. I got it, and my reporting was off and running. The final big fluke happened a few years later when a television producer from Kansas City, who I never met, happened to be in Wichita one weekend, and he saw my weekend sports report. He remembered my name a few months later, and when Color 10 here in Springfield was looking for a new sports anchor, he recommended me. Color 10 took a chance, and needless to say, it changed my life. I thought I would stay here 2 years max. There was no question, because then I was going to spring forward to the big time. I'm going CBS, NBC, I'm leaving here. Someplace much better than Springfield and the Ozarks, but it did not take very long to realize there was no place better than this, and this is where I was meant to be. Covering the Ozark sports scene has been a full and fun challenge each and every day, getting to know the teams, the players, coaches, sports traditions, and the exciting experiences that it provides. From Arnold Palmer to George Foreman, Joe DiMaggio to Billie Jean King, and hundreds of great athletes and coaches here on the local level, I've been able to interview a host of legendary sports personalities, people I could only have imagined getting very close to, and I got to do it all just because I had a microphone in my hand. The list of people to thank over the last 50 years is certainly a long one. Photographers, producers, fellow reporters, guys that were my weekend sports anchors. Scott Opfer's here. Thank you, Scott. Thanks to all of my broadcast partners along the way. Ned Reynolds, who went from being a competitor of mine to being an announcing compatriot. That's been great. Art Haynes, you saw there. The late, great Vern Hawkins. Don West, you saw. Corey Riggs, Shane Vree, and a list of others. I really say thanks for sharing the microphone. Special thank you to Paul Wanamaker. When most of the television days were behind me, Paul had a vision of that big sports magazine, said he wanted to try it in 1997, so we launched the magazine. We never made any money, but we had a lot of fun, and it kept me connected to the local sports scene for a long, long time. Thanks, of course, to my parents, my mother. She's never been short of conversation, and that's where the gift of communication comes from. And to my great late father, who set a very good example. He headed out to work every day to a job that he really didn't particularly enjoy, I'm sure, but he showed me how important it was to go to work and to provide. I don't think my dad ever understood what I did for a living, but he was thrilled. Thanks to my sons, Kellen and Jacoby. I know they're proud of me tonight, but I'm even more proud of them, and it pales in comparison to that. Thank you for the passion you've shown in everything you do, and remember, and still, on occasion, I can outdrive you. Special thanks to Kellen's mom and my great friend Amy for helping me start the adventure. The biggest thanks to Tammy. Sports brought us together, has kept us connected for so long. I can never repay her enough. It's been a long and interesting ride for 50 years, to say the least. I've been very, very lucky. You know, I never caught a touchdown. I never hit one over the fence. And I never dropped a buzzer beater to get the big win. But it certainly has been a lot of fun, really enjoyable, and a thrill to get to talk about, report about, and share the accomplishments of the great athletes that did. Thanks a lot for accepting this fluke into the Hall.
Allow me to invite Tom's family, friends, all the folks that are here tonight for town mass. Please stand at this time, if you will. Yeah. Tom Mass, enshrined as a member in recognition of your outstanding contributions in the field of sports broadcasting.